this because this bloke is likely to be the next Premier if Anastasia Palaszczuk were to go, this Cameron Dick. And I just want to repeat, he said the people of our state, this was his defence, knew what I was saying when I said that. And what he said was there won't be any increased taxes, no new taxes from the Labor government if we are re-elected. Now, I'm sorry, if the people of Queensland are going to be run by people who are really scarce with the truth, everybody's in trouble.
And he's been mauled today for that, Alan, and I'm quite pleased to see the way that people have stood up and said, no, mate, sorry, you were asked many times and you ruled it out. And unfortunately, we live in an era where people think they can say one thing and do another. But in life and in politics, if you want to have any form of credibility, you've got to look people in the eye and say, well, this is our intention and this is why, and be honest with them.
Yeah,
he was deliberately loose with the truth, and he is getting categorically mauled. And today in the Parliament, his answers were disgraceful. And you want to know who the most embarrassed person is about the government's budget? The government. Not one of them this morning did one single interview on television, on radio, on your show at all. They attended a lunch today where they didn't invite the media. There was a table at the back of the room that was vacant that was supposed to be full of media. They didn't bring them along. They are embarrassed. They are running away from their record. They are a government in the third term. They want people to vote for them another 2 times before you see some of these new hospitals that they're talking about being built. Can't plan, they can't deliver, they can't be trusted. They are a government in the death throes, and Queenslanders have had enough.
Well, just on coming back to the point that you make, I mean, the simple thing was, for him to answer, couldn't he have said, well, look, hang on, yes, I did say that, but I've changed my mind because there's been a big increase in revenue from massive increases in coal prices, and I don't think that should go to shareholders. Do you have a view about that? Should all those massive increases in coal prices go to shareholders, or is the taxpayer entitled to some of it?
You've hit the nail on the head. If he would have stood up and said, this is what I promised, I got it wrong for this particular reason, I reckon the everyday Queenslander would look and say, you know what, we all make mistakes. But their problem is they can't be trusted with anything. And you only have to look at the integrity crisis that's burning through them. Yeah. We've now got the CCC looking at the way that lobbyists run the show, operating out of government-funded headquarters. They really are in a spot of bother because they just can't tell the truth anymore. It's got to the stage where Queenslanders have worked it out. And this is a classic example. They are so twisting and contorting themselves that they are incapable of actually looking people in the eye and say, hey, look, we got it wrong. Yes. But the reason why they can't is they didn't get it wrong. They knew exactly what they were doing before the election. They told a bald-faced lie, and now they're in a big, big spot of bother.
Well, now to the dishonesty, you've got to add hypocrisy because coal royalties are stuffing the budget full of cash, but the same Labor people want the coal out of the equation by 2030. What can you tell the people of Queensland about the private sector vis-a-vis the government? I mean, if they won't lend to the private sector for a heli coal plant, high efficiency, low emissions coal plant, would your government build a high efficiency, low emissions coal-fired power station in order to keep the lights on?
Alan, you've hit the nail on the head. They spend every waking hour demonising the mining industry, not just coal, the mining industry in general. If you look at the left, they hate anyone who wants to extract anything out of the ground. They hate anyone who wants to grow things. They hate farmers as well. They won't build new dam facilities. You just mentioned about coal-fired power. During last week, when there was the risk of blackouts, 80% of Queensland's energy on one particular day came from coal, 80%. Now, they run around and they demonise, but in the end, energy's got to be a few things. It's got to be affordable, reliable, and sustainable. They're the 3 elements of it. You've got a whole generation of people who don't think 2 of those apply. Well, I'm afraid to tell you, the pensioner who can't afford to turn her heater on tonight thinks affordability is pretty important. The business owner who wants to produce something thinks reliability is pretty important. It's not all about sustainability. That's one part of the equation. And you know, Alan, I've always been of the view that there is a place for us as a society to be talking about doing everything we can for the environment. Absolutely. But there is a generation of people who are just cannot see the wood for the trees. But there are other elements to energy generation that are important, including being able to pay for it and making sure it's bloody there when you need it.